Look, it's all about manipulation. Yeah? Yeah? Write this one down.
Well,
Get out of my show! Fucking whatever, boys, yeah? You'll learn something one day. One of the most interesting things about playing these ridiculous characters was noticing how much those shadows on different levels are actually alive in me. So, Bad Coach Brett, for example. Sorry guys, I play Bad Coach Brett. Sorry to break that to you if you didn't realize already. Simultaneously doing good work and being very toxic and unhealthy. I don't agree with what Ubud and Acid are doing.
Yo, let's talk about your spiritual ego. Nipple hanging out from your linen kimono. Tantra colada got you feeling sexy. Yeah, it's time for Ubud on tea at the Kruta.
I think we're rolling. Hello everybody, welcome to Ubud on tea. I am Igor and this is my friend Alexei. And today we're doing you a show all about comedy improv.
Hola, hola, muchachos, muchachas. Very happy to be here with you, Lorenz.
I think that is cultural appropriation. That's not very nice. Apologize to the people.
Lo siento, Lorenzo. I am sorry.
Okay, Alexei, look. Today we have a very special guest, but before we do guest, time to explain to us the tea that we're drinking today.
Yes, the tea we are drinking today is called Oriental Beauty. Oriental Beauty is a oolong, comes from Taiwan, and it is called this way because bugs eat the leaves, and they're very beautiful bugs that eat these leaves. And it starts the oxidation process, which gives the taste to the tea, which makes that it has to be organic because no bugs, no oxidation, no Oriental Beauty. And we love organic because we're very healthy, right, Lorenzo?
Today I'm very healthy, and today my co-host is schizophrenic.
Why are you saying this? I don't understand.
Anyhow, my name is Lawrence J. This is Alex Lambert. This is Ubud on Tea. Please like, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Do we have anything else?
Well, we're very funny also. But yeah, you can take a screenshot of that episode and post on Instagram and tag us at Ubud on Tea. That would help a lot to get the funny Ubud vibes out.
Completely, totally.
Yeah.
Something that Alex and I do, and I wanted to get to this right away, is we both do comedy improv. Like
as they could hear.
Yes, you can obviously hear that. So we do comedy improv, and what we've realized in comedy improv, we do this at Sayuri's. We used to do it in Uluwatu at the Istana. And our guest actually dropped by and did comedy improv with us once upon a time. Well, our second guest today. The first guest, actually, this guy just walked into Zest. We're at the Dragon Temple Tea House, by the way, where you can get tea.
Amazing tea.
And
on very beautiful tea tables like this. Look at this, is so beautiful.
Our second guest, Daniel Winn, he just dropped by once. So he's like an actor. He's funny. He does a lot of Instagram stuff that's really amazing. But what we've found is that comedy improv, and you can speak to this too, has really been amazing in our relationship.
Yeah. First, I think deep listening is really cool in comedy improv. Like you listen to the offer. I think doing a show together, we might be having our own direction. And one of the challenge is maybe you want to take the show somewhere, and I want to listen to where you want to take it and accept your offer. Yes, and.
And two men with such personalities, it has taught me to pause and really allow the space and the field, to use an Ubudian term, to allow the flow to be natural.
This is trippy, bro. I feel like you're me now.
Really?
Yeah, maybe I'll be the Lawrence of the show now.
And maybe you're the Russian guy. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Actually, before we get to our first guest, which is random that he walked in here, and I'm just so excited to have him here.
Yeah, he's a big big guy in the industry.
I know, and I hope that Daniel isn't offended that we decided to bring anyhow. But before we do that, is there anything that's going on in Ubud, that's going on in your life that you want to mention?
In my life.
In Ubud specifically, like any events?
Well, talking about improv, there's going to be an improv show. I might not do it actually, but I'm excited about that. Even just to watch. I was very excited about a musical that I've seen very recently. And overall, it's just that vibe of fun and kind of lightheartedness, because I knew Ubud more on the deep spiritual work, but making fun of it too, like as we do with that podcast. I think the most exciting thing in Ubud right now is Ubud on Tea. Let's say it.
Yeah, Ubud on Tea is the sexiest thing that's going on in Ubud, bar none. Other than the Dragon Temple Tea House, which brings the sex also here.
True.
Yeah. So look,
especially if we start showing our nipples behind our kimonos, which we do sometimes.
Which I do a lot. Anyhow, I want to get things going because we have two guests.
Yeah.
One's unplanned. This guy is a coach.
Yeah.
And he's pretty popular. He's high level. He's high price as far as I know.
He's super high level. We had Daniel Winn and we told him, bro,
Let's just say he was bumped.
We'll have a more important person first.
Yeah. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you've seen him on Instagram. You might have seen him around town. You might have seen him trying to take money out of your wallet. This guy, his name is Bad Coach Brett.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome to Ubud on Tea at the Dragon Temple Tea House.
Yeah. Whatever. You all right? You all right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're super excited to have you because you're one of the most successful person in the industry of coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, last time I was on a plant ceremony, Spirit came to me and told me, be a life coach. So that's something I'm new to, I'm dabbling with.
Right.
And I think you're like really an embodiment of what a successful life coach would be.
Yeah,
So
I'd agree,
Yeah. Would you have advice for someone like me who's starting and really wanting to be as successful as you?
Well, I'm glad you recognise how successful I am and how good I am at my job, because that's the main thing, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
What you have to remember is that really at the end of the day, it's all about you. Yeah?
About me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? It's
And
not about these clients that like with their problems and with their needs. It's all about how can you as a coach look and sound as perfect as possible.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah?
Yeah. So like pretending?
Yeah. A lot of the time. Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. Pretend to be perfect. Yeah, especially online.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my question.
Yeah.
And that is, well, I didn't have a spiritual moment like Alex. For me, it was more just like I didn't have a kitas. So I needed to make money somehow. So I got into coaching.
Like anyone in Ubud?
Yeah.
Right.
Right, basically. And Chengu. And
Like everyone in Bali.
Basically. So yeah, no kitas, which like for those of you at home and in the crowd, like it just means like I didn't have a work visa, so I don't want to get arrested or kicked out of here. So I became a coach. But how do you get clients? Russian speaking ones.
Right.
Or any clients.
I don't know about Russian speaking ones, so I've got a few of them. Look, it's all about manipulation. Yeah? Yeah? Write this one down.
Well,
So people in their life, they have fears, insecurities, they're worried about things, if they look good or not. And the point is, the key thing, is to get right in there. Prod at their fears, make them feel insecure. Tell them you're the answer to all their problems. And meanwhile, you remember I told you look and sound perfect all the time. Yeah? You portray yourself online as the answer to their problems. You're better than them, yeah? Make sure they know you are better than them. Yeah?
Okay.
that's a bit weird for me to hear, because when Spirit told me to be a coach, it was mainly about helping people and really improving people's lives, and that anyway my success would come from the success of my clients.
No, you said you're good at comedy before, didn't you? So yeah, you are. You're really good.
I'm serious.
That's hilarious.
I'm serious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
Awkward pause.
Yeah, but it's a bit. I find it a bit weird.
You just have to see it from a different perspective, Alex. This isn't. Get rid of this sign. This isn't like the way we were brought up thinking about Ubud. This is a completely different perspective, and that's why he is top of the game.
Yeah, but when I started this podcast, I wanted to feel more hard, like we're gonna help people. It's not just about us and making money. And
Bad Coach Brett, you live in Ubud, right?
That's right.
Okay, so that's the heart. The heart is the heart of the island, the heart of Bali, the heart of Ubud. Why do you live in Ubud? Why?
Well, look, I wanted to surround myself with other people that say one thing and do another. Yeah? So, what I get very inspired by is someone that is able to read a spiritual book, then take a quote, immediately put that on Instagram, and put a photo up there, normally of themselves like half naked with like their arse crack out. Yeah? Spiritual quote. PM me for details. PM me if you want to be more like me. Yeah? I want to be around people that inspire me with strategies like this. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. People here do it so fucking well. Very inspiring for me. Lawrence, that's why I'm here.
Okay. So you're just. He likes people that.
I don't know, Lawrence. I feel like in this show we wanted more heart, and I feel that like I really feel safe because you have that Russian side that can step in and say, well, it's not right. And I don't know if it's right now to say this to people, and that that's not the world I want to live in.
I'm a Russian man, and I have to support my partner. And when my partner is upset, I must support my partner. That's why I'm going to do this, not because I don't like what you have to offer. I feel like your perspective is good. But блядь, get out of my show!
Fucking whatever, boys, yeah? You'll learn something one day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Okay, I wasn't feeling good, and honestly, we shouldn't have replaced Daniel with this guy. Daniel's so nice.
I think before we go to Daniel,
Yeah.
we should have a bromance moment.
I love the Russian part of you.
And I love
Kind
the
of-
vulnerable part of you.
It kind of like it scares me a bit sometimes, but most of the time it just turns me on.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll cut that.
I don't know. I like it. It's all good. It's all
I'm
good.
joking.
Well, okay, that was weird, but you know what?
Yeah,
We tried something new.
yeah.
I think now we know that we have to like prep the guests before. We have to
Okay.
make sure it's in the structure. You're the
Yeah.
projector. I'm the manifesting generator.
We've
I
learned
make
that.
mistakes. It
We've
was
learned
my
that.
idea to bring him on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no more like people who are so rude.
I just
so
hope Daniel's
rude.
still here.
I think like Daniel's great because honestly we've been a bit rough with him when we're like, hey bro, there's someone more important than you and we're gonna interview him instead of you.
Yeah.
But he was still very supportive. He was like, hey guys, I get it. I don't have as many followers and I get that you love me less because of that. But I'm still here for you guys and I'll be supporting. So I'm very happy that that he still chose to support.
Yeah, I mean, is he here? He's here. Daniel's here.
Yeah, wow.
Daniel, I know this is weird and it's a little bit like impromptu, but
Yeah.
like,
We're sorry.
we're sorry, bro. Will you come on the show?
I don't know.
Come on, Daniel.
You're gonna have to make up to me, boys.
All right. He's not mic'd
Okay.
yet, but he's getting mic'd by our people.
Mm.
So Daniel looks like he's gonna come on. I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about
Yeah,
Daniel.
that's
So there
nice.
was like a moment that happened in Ubud history a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And he turned an idea into something real, and it's called Consciousness the Musical.
Yeah.
I went on Saturday night. You went on the Sunday night. It was 2 nights, and they were pretty epic.
That was incredible. I think I was super happy to see this manifestation. I knew it'd be funny because they're touching on themes that we can relate to, but they made it in such a professional way and with a live audience, with our friends, making fun of each other. I just had such a good moment.
Yeah, it makes me also consider that I saw a lot of people. For those of you that don't live on Bali, there's like a soft competition between Canggu and between Ubud. Canggu, I mean, we don't have to say it every show, but Canggu is like the surf town where everybody's beautiful and buff, and Ubud is like the hippie, bohemian, spiritual, crystal holding place. Anyhow, there was so many Cangguers in the audience, really cheering it on and having a really good time, and the Ubuders were having a good time. The Ubudians were having a really good time. So I think that's a pretty good lead up to. He's literally getting his hair done right now.
But yeah, man, I loved about the show all these different characters. There was like the shaman that became a shaman after like 3 days of an online course. You know, I have a Yawanawa bracelet. Does that make me a shaman, Maurice?
Yawa. I don't know what that is. I know it's an ayahuasca thing.
Yeah.
It's a plant medicine thing.
My friends in Russia to look cool in Ubud.
My friends in Russia used to wear those, like to look cool in Russia.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I mean, it's so relatable. We'll talk with him about it. I think he's ready.
Are you ready, Daniel?
I'm ready.
Well, please come and have some tea with us.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Winn.
Hi, guys.
Just your aura compared to Bad Coach Brett.
I know that guy.
So much better. You're like, wow, just feeling your energy, brother.
Yeah, I just saw him on the way out. It's weird vibes from that dude, man.
Yes. Yeah. He's holding on to a lot.
I think so. Yeah, I think he seems like he's been through a lot, and he's kind of.
Yeah, he's overcompensating.
Yeah. There's something
I'm
like
still
that
like
going
I'm
on.
like impressed with him though. Like he's really. I mean, he's got a system that works.
Yeah, I mean, he protects himself very well, I feel, behind that, whatever that is, yeah. So he's good at that. He's good at that.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was like the
The
sign
spirits.
from the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so good to have you. I mean, we talked about doing comedy, the musical. I feel there's like that vibe of a bit of comedy and fun in Ubud. While at the same time, we also do kind of deep spiritual work. So, I mean, why like what's important for you is like making fun of the work we do here in Ubud.
Yeah, it's something. I feel like comedy is a fantastic way to cut through these veils, the seriousness that can happen in spirituality and in self-development, and also to really highlight and pull into the light, ironically, the shadows that come up within this type of work, in this type of community. And the comedy just feels like such a fantastic way to highlight these shadows and bring them to the forefront, to help people see them within themselves, but not in such a shameful way. Perhaps in a more comical, they can laugh at that part of themselves and then see that that's not really them, and start to release it. And this is what feels really good for me. And also just to give myself a voice, to call out some of this bullshit, you know, like the Bretts of this world that are showing up in this way, and it's just like, hey man, that's bullshit. And here's a way to express that in a way which is entertaining and hopefully transformative for people.
Yeah, so it's like entertainment, but also through that entertainment, calling the bullshit and being like a superhero standing. I mean, I exaggerate, but like, okay, that's not cool, kind of.
Yeah, it's my goal is to weave, has always been since I started this kind of comedy, is to weave transformational messages into the comedy, not just to create kind of slapstick comedy that's just funny because it's funny, but really to be pointing out things within themselves, for people within themselves, within the community, which otherwise perhaps isn't discussed or isn't looked at or is difficult to talk about in a more serious conversation. So yeah, definitely like transformation is a big goal of the work that I'm doing. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Have you guys gotten any negative feedback? Have you triggered anybody? We know that like a lot of what's going on in the world right now with like the comedians like Andrew Schultz or Dave Chappelle, like that kind of stuff. And you guys are hitting on a lot of topics. Because all I heard is the good stuff. So has there been anything else?
Well, we professionally recorded it and we're about to put it globally. So I'm bracing myself for people to be triggered. But I feel like a lot of it is about context setting. And when just before someone watches the show, like know that this is why we're doing it. You know, this is the objective is to really bring things into the light. And you may be triggered. We have like a trigger warning at the start. You may be triggered, and I feel like that lets people's guards down a little bit. And yeah, I feel because it's characters and acting, what I hope is that people will be able to see the funnier side of it and see the different parts of themselves within it, rather than just one guy or one woman saying this is stupid or that's like this is like this. It's a different way of expressing it. Has anyone particularly been triggered? From the first edition of the musical, people thought we were just bashing coaches.
The one at Ballybloom?
Yes. People thought we were just bashing coaching, and we weren't. Like what we were highlighting was narcissism within coaching, or narcissistic tendencies within coaching, and not coaching itself. So in the second edition, we made sure to highlight that there's a good coach in there that can actually have impact. So as we get feedback, we will adapt it perhaps to make sure that the messages are really coming through in the way that we intended.
And the version I watched, I don't know if it was already there in Ballybloom, but there was, for example, the Philly. I was being in network marketing with Hilly 2 years ago, actually. Yeah. So that was funny, and also Shaman Steve. So it's not just coach. You go Shaman, network marketing, different.
Yes, yeah. So the different themes that we have in the musical. One of them is tyranny. So there's a character called Guru Das in the musical,
the Guru also.
He's like the main antagonist. And
as a wannabe guru, that really triggered me.
Yeah, that's be careful of that. But anyway, he's acting out this tyrannical kind of shadow that can happen, and then also this manipulative energy that can come up in men in particular, I feel, when they're in positions of power. And this is something that I really wanted to highlight and was a theme throughout the whole musical. And also touching on the different tyrannical, not just like from a guru context or kind of a culty context, but also globally, and the way that the global leaders are now gripping onto power as they fear it being lost, and actually having him represent the elites as well in that sense. And so these are some other messages we had in there. Yeah.
Did anything trigger you, Lawrence?
During it?
Yeah.
Oh man, probably. I think something I don't remember off the top of my head actually, but I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I was really proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Because I had conversations with you months ago, right? When we were like talking about like what you wanted to create and like seeing it. And I also want to say that like us working on this podcast, it really goes to show for me like how hard you have to work to create something and put it together, create a foundation. I can't remember anything that would have triggered me because there was so much going on. But what I wanted to ask you is, I noticed that you guys had the hero's journey in it, right? And I even noticed that it was Pete wearing the T-shirt with all the different. So when you wrote it, you were specifically sticking to like a Joseph Campbell model. And how is this going to play in? You said that you guys were doing a coaching program based out of it. So can you explain that process a little bit, like shortly? Why don't we take a moment, watch the clip, and show the people at home also?
Why don't we do that?
Awesome, let's do
Great
that.
idea.
Let's do that.
Cool.
You ready?
Yep.
So give me a sign. Oh, you mean like heaven? Bali. It's harder than ever to make women come to the temple. So please insert your card into my chip and pin machine. May, 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 may.
It's what's on the outside that counts in life.
It says here there'll be yoga, breathwork, moon crystals, and vegan croissants. There'll be thousands of vulnerable women with traumas they're looking to heal. Oh, let go of the narcissist, I hate your woman. Oh, she is a fucking bitch, I hate your
Awesome.
Funny. That was just Act 1. So that's just the clips from Act 1. Yeah.
I just laughed the whole time. That was so good.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, it was a trip. It was a real trip. Performing it live as well. Just who knows what's going to happen? You know, are we going to remember our lines? Are the other actors going to come in at the right cue? Is the technology going to work? Are the mics going to, like, so many moving parts? And we just did 2 shows, live shows. So there wasn't really a time to practice it. And on the Friday, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And the dress rehearsal on the Friday before the shows on the Saturday and Sunday, the band got there late. Ubud come to a standstill, the traffic, the rain was pouring. People were forgetting their cues and their lines, and it took about 6 hours to get through one rehearsal. And by the end of it, we were just like, oh my God, like this is, so much can go wrong. But hopefully it all did that. Hopefully it got it out of his system today. But yeah, it's a real experience creating something like that and having to just surrender to whatever will happen on the night, you know.
Speaking of things going wrong, I was there on the Saturday night and you guys spoke about losing a cast member
Right.
that day.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, because I don't know the story about that, so what happened and how did you resolve that issue?
Sure. Yeah. So that was a very interesting moment. So we got a call from Lewis's partner saying that unfortunately he had a seizure that day, like a couple of hours before the live show, and obviously our first concern was like, how is he? Is he okay? What's his state with his health? And once we established that he was okay, he was stable, and he's fine now, by the way, then we had to start firefighting. You know, how are we going to solve this? He was playing 3 different parts in the musical, not massive parts, but 3 parts. So first step was, okay, who's going to play his parts? And I was already playing 4 parts. I was playing the dad, Guru Das, bad coach Brett, and good coach Greg. So that's a whole nother story we can get into, what it was like changing costumes and stuff behind the scenes. But to add another one in, it was basically just me that could do it. And so it's like, okay, I've got to add another costume change in, another thing. But I was like, okay, let's do this. Now, where's the costumes? And of course, Lewis is the only person that's taken his costumes home that night when we specifically asked people to leave them there. And so, but we didn't know that. We're rummaging around the whole set. This is about an hour before the show, rummaging around looking for the costumes. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And eventually we had to admit that he's taken them. And so what it turned out, the only person that could then go and find the other costumes, find new costumes, was like my co-creator, Pete Byrne. And so the co-creator who's directing the band, he's managing all these things, has to get on his scooter in the pouring rain and drive through this crazy traffic to Seth's house, played our hero character and helped direct and production, to find some clothes to play the travel buddy and these other characters. So anyway, he manages to find a couple of potential costumes, jumps back on his bike, driving through Ubud apparently like a maniac, but he said at the same time, like, traffic was opening up for him, like he was Moses or something, like exactly the right time. He comes back like completely disheveled, just like, okay, I've got this and I got this. One was just like this ridiculous white t-shirt which just didn't fit me and had all these stains on it, and the other one was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers t-shirt, which is an American football t-shirt. And it was like, okay, so I guess we'll wear this. So so chose the red Tampa Bay Buccaneers
It went
t-shirt.
smoothly because I didn't notice.
Right, exactly.
I was weird.
Yeah, spoiler alert. But basically, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this part. What accent am I going to do? Because you need to juice up this character a little bit. So we're in the makeup room before, and I just start doing his accents, and I'll do this Scouse accent, this Liverpool accent, England, Liverpool. It's like, hey mate, I'm thinking about going on a backpacking trip to Southeast Asia. Looking for someone to come with me, like. And I was just mucking around.
That was so good, actually. So that was just before the show.
That was just before the show, and people were like, "You should do that."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do that. That's a bit much, and I don't know if I can hold the accent down." They're like, "Definitely do that." And I was like, "Okay, let's see. I'll feel into it." Anyway, it's seconds before this character's meant to go on, and I'm still not sure what accent I'm going to do. And at the last minute, I was like, "Fuck it, I'll do the Liverpool." Just like burst through the curtains, just like go full like stereotypical Liverpool, like, "Hey mate, I'm thinking about going on a backpacking trip to Southeast Asia." And the crowd just loved it, and it just went down super well, and nobody had any idea that we had just made that up, and I wasn't meant to be that person. And it turns out there's a Liverpudlian guy in an American football shirt talking to an English guy with an American accent, and none of it made sense, but it all worked out perfectly in the end. So
Awesome. The golden nuggets that you get for free, like when things happen. Do you see, is Lewis coming back? Are you doing it again? Like, when's the next time you're doing the show?
Next time, well, all the cast have to be together. Pete, my co-creator, is going to Europe for a while, so next time might be December.
Okay, cool.
The main focus right now is getting the recording out into the world and kind of surrendering a little bit what happens from there. But we have some other plans as well.
That would be amazing, because to be honest, that's a show that was amazing to watch live, but I feel could be really fun to watch online, and that I would personally love to send to friends and family, because it's very relatable. So I feel like it would share some of my life and my journey, because a lot of what's happening in there is relatable to the typical Ubudian that's been through an awakening journey, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I would be able to share my story in a way that's light and fun.
Yeah.
So I'd love to send that to some of my friends and family.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's when we created the story, I really looked at what was my journey and where did I go? What kind of characters have I met along my way? And we created what's typically the kind of a modern awakening journey through the world. And it felt so good when we were getting the feedback of, wow, I saw myself in that journey. I saw myself there. Oh, my mum is exactly like that. Or I had a girlfriend that was narcissistic like that. Or like I had a really bad experience with a manipulative like cult leader type thing. And it's just like to get that out there in the world and show this. Yeah, I'm really glad that you feel that way, because that was one of my intentions. And it seems like you don't have to be fully in this world to appreciate it and to enjoy it. And what I really hope is that people that perhaps haven't gone 2 feet into this kind of awakening path are inspired by it. You know, they see the transformation of the main protagonist, of Johnny, our hero, and they see what he goes from and the challenges he's having, and then how he steps into his power. Because a big theme of the musical is stepping into your power. So I would love it to be shared throughout the world and for it to have an impact.
Yeah.
I feel like it will, for sure. Thank you for saying that. You do men's work, right? So you, in a way, are a coach also.
Correct.
So is there something that in working on this you've woken up to about your own behaviors or about your own kind of moving forward as a coach? Can you share some of those if there are any?
Yeah, I can. So one of the most interesting things about playing these ridiculous characters was noticing how much those shadows in different levels are actually alive in me. So, bad coach Brett, for example. Sorry guys, I play bad coach Brett. Sorry to break that to you if you didn't realize already. So anyway, when I'm playing this character, at first I thought I was mocking other people in the community, and then I slowly started to realize, wow, this is actually really alive in me as well. And it's a shadow there waiting to be played out if I'm not conscious about it. So it was very healing to play out these shadows that exist within me, exist within a lot of us, within the community, the wider world, and express them in this way and see the ridiculousness of them, and have and see them within myself from a more compassionate point of view rather than a shameful one. And even the tyrant energy exists within myself as well. And so playing that out in Guru Das, and it's actually very interesting because the actor who plays Creature is a good friend of mine, KJ. And we actually have these two shadows where I can, if I'm not careful, play out this tyrant energy, and he can play out this repressive energy. So in the story, there's a ridiculous character called Guru Das, and he has subjugated this other character called Creature, equally as ridiculous, who's just like this assistant, like the classic, like do this, do that.
Quasimodo style.
Yeah, exactly. And to then compare how we're acting it out to how sometimes like it would play out in real life was very interesting to be able to reference those two things and say, oh, there's a similarity, and actually heal through that. And so one of the ideas we have is to actually create musical experience, like create these bespoke things for individuals. Then we can actually play out their own shadows in these ways and separate themselves from them as a result, and heal as a result as well.
It's like what Zhenya does.
Well, I was exactly thinking of that
Yeah.
because I do work with our friend Genia,
Okay.
and you go into shadow parts of yourself and you exaggerate them and play them, and interestingly, you also feel the pleasure of it.
Yeah.
Where's the pleasure when you're a tyrant, when you're a bully,
Yeah.
when you're a perv, when you're like playing the things that you don't dare to play? And also, you talked about the relationship. That's something I know we're gonna do at some point,
Probably
Lawrence
sooner than
and
later.
I.
Yeah.
That we're going to do with Genia, that person, is play, and maybe you play the bully, for example, or maybe I play the bully, and I feel what's good in that, and sometimes maybe I play a caricature of myself, an aspect of me, but Lawrence is actually a creation of my own consciousness. That's a mirror to me, right?
Right.
And so all his aspects, they're also part of me. So sometimes I'll play my role, but sometimes I'll play his role, and I'll feel into the pleasure he has, but also the pain maybe he has when I'm in my role, and like kind of, it's kind of, yes, switching roles and understanding each other, understanding the other and myself at the same time. So I'm excited to do that with you, Lawrence.
I'm really inspired to mention Lion's name right now, because whenever like this man who's like brought so much permission to fully be by being fully himself is like a big part of who I am. And at the same time, that whole process was, oh, you got to be yourself, Lawrence. You can't be lying. And I think that's what we're like figuring out. Like we go to these extremes and really like find the tyrant, or find like the guru, or even like the rock star, like Good Coach Greg, for example. And yet the truth lies somewhere by holding back, even though to understand it, you got to go to the extreme.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Perspective. It did feel good to play out these shadows, and that's interesting, you know. And I think especially in men, our darkness has been so suppressed that, and women as well, I'm sure. But I mean, I'm a man, so I can speak more from this point of view. It's been so suppressed that it comes out in our dark energy comes out in very unhealthy ways, and to actually have a vehicle to express this darkness in a comical way and get that feeling of it feeling good, even because we know we're not harming anybody, can be very therapeutical and stop this energy coming out in ways which may harm oneself or others.
And that's why in men's work often we do what we call emoting, and for example, we'll get super angry and start insulting, but in a container where it's made for that, and we're not hurting anyone.
Totally, yeah. And even for me as a facilitator, I still feel resistance to actually expressing these things. And if I have the anger, it's like, oh, I should go and hit a pillow, and it's like, oh, I don't want to feel it. And then, but as soon as I do, then it's such a big release. And so I think one of the key themes around my whole experience with creating the musical is expression. and that was my expression, our expression as a team, as the cast. And expression is something I feel that's been so suppressed in Western society, in many societies, and
men especially.
And men, yeah. It's like expressing our emotions, our feelings, and even.
It's so beautiful to hear.
Thank you. Thank you, oh my God.
I'm so touched by your share.
Oh, me too.
I'm so...
You guys are so adorable.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just expressing because we're so evolved.
Don't say I'm adorable.
Yeah.
Good.
I was gonna say, like in the process of Ubud on Tea, I've learned so much about myself by watching the footage and being like, okay, this works, this doesn't work. Like I'm listening to Alex, I'm not listening to Alex, I'm not listening to the guest, for example. This is probably the first time where I'm like so inspired by the conversation, not just by watching the playback, because it makes me realize how important not only is it to do the emoting and to put and go to the extremes, but also as men to have a space to do it together. Like really to support each other, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like a team sport, where we come together and we're like, come on, you can be an asshole, you can be a tyrant Russian, blah. And at the same time know you're in a safe space to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And be like, that's what Zhenya actually, the one time I got to experience with him, it's like when you play it, you actually realize you're playing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing it as opposed to it playing you.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice angle as well. Is when we act out these things. Yeah, we are in control of it rather than the other way around. And I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, also taking the good parts of it. So, for example, if I play a bully, what's good into it? Well, not thinking too much about what other people think and just go for things. Maybe being decisive, just saying things without filters. And there's a part I can do that in a more sensitive way, but there's good parts I can take for that, and some that I can leave aside.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not going to start a debate now, but it's interesting also for me. It's been a question, the balance between emoting, that's very beautiful, playing these things, and sometimes feeling, let's say I feel angry, maybe I'm going to punch the pillow or whatever, or sit with it, which can also be a practice to dissolve it. And there's always in my head, okay, when I play it and I emote, I'm releasing it, so it feels good, but am I fueling it through also playing it versus just sitting and let it dissolve?
By increasing the tendency, by like going through the cycle, like it lives in you still. It's really interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, for me, because in the majority of my life I didn't express, I find the expression really healing. Yeah, I find it that it releases it, and after a while, as long as I stay conscious of, am I just now creating drama, or is this coming from an authentic space? As long as I stay connected to that, then I've only had good experiences with expressing in this way, personally.
Cool. I just had an idea that this could fly. We can just like ignore it. And you're a beautiful singer too. I've seen you online sing and
Thank
stuff.
you.
And you don't have. I don't see a guitar here, but I was like, maybe we could do like an improv little like sing like a freestyle. That's something I'm going to put into the space right now.
Okay.
And before that happens, if it has happened or not, what I want to ask you is one of our signature questions, and that is about Ubud. And I thought you could speak to this. What is something that's normal in Ubud?
Can you ask the question singing?
Oh, can I ask the question? Like,
can you please ask the question singing, Lorenzo?
Yo, I got a question for you today. It's going to be happening in a major way. So what I want to know is what is normal to you, something that happens in Ubud that in the rest of the world looks a little queer, looks a little weird. So I want to know if you can speak to that here.
Wow. Boom. Okay, we're not going to freestyle rap the whole rest of the thing, are we?
I might.
You might. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So what was the question?
Something that's normal in Ubud today that in the rest of the world is really weird. Sorry.
I feel it's going going a level deeper. You know, when we're engaging with each other, it's what's happening underneath the surface, rather than a question now. How, like, say if someone's recently had a baby or something, like a friend, perhaps that doesn't live here, we're like, how's it going? You're a father. How is it? And they're like, yeah, it's good.
Well, even because we talked about men's work, it would be like, how are you? Hey, mate, how are you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, good, mate, how are you? Well,
Yeah.
here, if you ask how are you might need to sit down and actually listen.
Yeah. You need to create a safe space, you know, book out some time in the calendar. Yeah, you gotta be careful with that one here.
Very
Totally,
careful.
yeah. So it can go two ways, you know, like sometimes I think people can overindulge in these things, and at the same time, I notice that when I ask these types of questions to people that perhaps aren't in this community or done this type of work, it's just like, boom, yeah, like for the father example, like, yeah, it's kind of right. It's like, wow, I just asked how fatherhood was for you. And it's this, what I then get grateful for is this community's ability to dive in a bit deeper, to take a step back, to perhaps do what I just did and take a moment to respond. And okay, how actually is that? How does that feel? Or what is that experience like? And like, thank you for that question. And I feel like back in my old life, it would just be like, boom, answer straight away. I wouldn't really think or feel into it. And it'd be like, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's funny, it's a bit annoying, but you know, whatever.
Fine.
It's fine, yeah. So this level of communication, this depth, this meaning that comes through into life as a result of tuning in and being aware and really asking myself or oneself that question when it's asked to us. It's like taking the time to ask it to myself as well. Like, wow, what is that? This just really helps me feel alive, helps me feel connected to other people, to myself. And I think it's such a vital part of feeling connected with people. Yeah, and like a aliveness, a juiciness in connection and communication.
Namaste, brother.
Namaste.
That was a beautiful share.
How's.
And actually, to build on that question, and because you're making fun sometimes of Ubud,
Yes.
what do you feel is something annoying about Ubud? About people in Ubud?
Yeah.
Stereotypical.
Yeah.
So I feel one thing that triggers me is people saying, like, putting out this portrayal of themselves online, which is like, looks perfect, you know. It's like, oh, I know all the things, I've done all the things, this is how you should be, and implying that they're doing it all the time. And what happens
when
more,
I say I'm a tea master.
Exactly. But this is online, so you would make sure that you fucking got it right, you know, like, this is going online, mate.
Let's try that one more time. Cut.
Precisely. But this is what really triggers me, is the lack of embodiment. And this is not just Ubud, this is so true across the world, right? But particularly what I would love to see more of is people being more authentic with where they're at. Say, oh, I'm learning this thing at the moment. I'm learning about perhaps expressing my emotions, and not expressing it like, oh, I express my emotions every day like this, and I'm perfect in this way, and I've learned it. So DM me if you want to be more like me. It's more like it's like, wow, yeah, I'm working with this at the moment. I actually find this challenging, and that's why I'm learning about it, and that's why I actually want to share my journey with it and my challenges and where I'm going well, where it's going wrong. And what I feel, you know, I have a bit of a beef with this "teach what you need to learn" saying, right? It's like, I get it, teach what you need to learn, because that's coming from our traumas, and that's why we're so interested in it. But it's like, teach what you've kind of already embodied, mate. Yeah.
Not
like,
too early.
Yeah, don't just read it from the book and go, oh, sweet. I just read this thing, and it's like. I just see a lack of embodiment. That's the biggest frustration for me in Ubud.
Actually, I was laughing because I was remembered in the musical when there's a client calling back Coach Brett, and how much should you pay me? Well, how much you pay me is a direct reflection of how much you love yourself.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was just so funny.
Yeah, that's classic manipulation kind of line.
101.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you said that. I think that teaching what you need to learn is a good exercise. Like getting yourself out there.
Totally.
And
Can
then,
be.
And as is embodiment to take money for it. So yeah, it's fascinating, this whole conversation and listening to, I listen to Bad Coach Brett and I'm like, well, that's all the stuff that the coaches do.
Right.
But it's so interesting still, because I've done some network marketing and I feel it's a bit similar, especially if you're a coach of coaches. It's like, there is, of course, an element of genuine skills, but there is a law of attraction-ish element of embodying what you're not yet.
Yes.
Right, fake it till you make it. Kind of thing.
Fake it till you make it. But there's a part that's true about it, especially in things like coach of coaches, or I see some and they're like, okay, I'm gonna be that person, and they so into being that version of themselves that the world gives them a reflection of it where they've become it. So it's like,
but to what price,
part
right?
of it.
For what price? I think the key word for me in this whole teach what you need to learn is authenticity. Like how much authenticity is in that. And if someone is teaching what they need to learn from an authentic space, then they'll be saying openly and vulnerably, like, look, I'm learning this thing right now. And I mentioned this already, but I'm actually failing here and here, but I'm doing really well here. And this is what I've learned from my failures. This is what I've learned from not being perfect. And so I just want to be clear that I don't think people should not teach what they need to learn. And I don't think people should stop stepping up and stepping into places where they're not comfortable with. But my desire, what I would love to see, and I do my best to hold this for myself, is coming from an authentic place. And then you can pretty much do whatever you want.
I'm with you 100%. And that's where I was most touched by Consciousness the Musical, was that...
Conscious the Musical.
Conscious, excuse me. Good to know.
Just for the record.
Well, that's where I was most touched. I was most touched with the idea that there are good coaches.
Yeah.
And that's the most interesting part of this conversation for me. It's these three men and all of our viewers and the listeners that are part of this conversation. We're trying to figure out how to do it, because we know that coaches are necessary. Having support along the journey, having a mentor, it counts. It's important.
Totally.
And we're trying to figure out how to do it as a career, a lot of us, how to do it so it's effective, and how to do it authentically and from the heart. And do it while the whole world hates you, because some of the most successful ones are the ones that are the most full of shit.
Right. It's not easy. It's not easy to show up in this way, and it takes vulnerability, and that's the not easy bit. And that's what many people aren't really willing to be online, particularly as vulnerable, and to be seen their real selves. It's like me playing this cat. Here's a good example. In the musical, I play all these different characters, right? I found that so much easier than to play as more like myself, because it was basically, I wanted to portray my higher self through Good Coach Greg. But to act as me on stage was so much more challenging to act as Guru Das, because it was easier to act this other character. So to show up online, to show up in the world as our true selves, authentic, vulnerable selves, is so much more difficult. And that's why I have so much respect for it. And that's the challenge, I feel.
You've heard of Ubud on Acid?
I have.
Yeah. I have...
It's you, isn't it?
That's actually, we're trying to figure out who it is. I was going to ask you, is it you?
Yeah. I've been asked a lot if it was me.
Really?
If it's you, can you feature Lawrence?
Yeah.
Yeah, you really want to be on it, huh?
I feel he's
I don't
feeling
know,
a bit
actually.
forgotten.
Yeah.
That's why you do the podcast. You can finally be there.
Finally, Ubud on Acid. I think it's really interesting, Ubud on Acid. I remember when it first started getting that first hit where everybody was paying attention to it. I saw a lot of coaches who take themselves seriously getting really soft about it, really bruised egos about it.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and I was like, hey, relax. But one of the things that I found was, this is fascinating, because whoever's the Ubud on Acid person,
Is it you?
who do you think it is, actually?
I think it's a very good-looking man with a hat.
We're trying to figure out who it is.
I am.
Who? Yeah, you think?
Go on, let's go.
Anyhow, when I saw it, I was like, whatever and whoever is this genius behind it is definitely like really deep into Ubud culture. Like they know us. They're very sharp on that.
They're one of us.
And why I was cheering for it quietly was it is bound to change Ubudian culture. Like all the things that we're talking about somebody who's teaching before they're embodying. You can't do that when it's in your face all the time, when people are like a mirror, a reflector in your face. So that's something that I thought like this
Can't do what, sorry?
Like if you keep seeing where you look ridiculous because somebody is memeing you,
Right.
you're going to have to, whether you're a bruised ego or not, make a shift.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to share a bit about my thoughts on Ubud on acid. I feel that simultaneously doing good work and being very toxic and unhealthy. I don't agree with what Ubud on acid are doing. And also I think like elements of what they're doing is beneficial. Mm-hmm. So the beneficial elements are, like helping people realize that they shouldn't be taking themselves so seriously, right? Lighten up a little bit, be authentic online. Because I feel if people are being authentic, then naturally it won't necessarily appear on there. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, because they can take anything out of context and you can make a joke out of it like that. But what I feel is extremely toxic is the targeting of individuals and victimizing them and putting them up to be slaughtered by all these other people, which perhaps are triggered by the fact that they aren't showing up in certain ways, they're scared to do this, so they all start targeting this individual. Now, as I say, I feel it's very beneficial to highlight the ridiculousness of some people, the way some people are showing up, what they're saying online and things like that. But I would much prefer to see people doing for creating characters. Surprise, surprise, the way I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So creating characters where it's highlighting that behavior, but it's not making someone a target of online harassment, right? And I would also like to see whoever it is showing their face.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
because stop hiding, like if you're gonna say all this stuff, how are you showing up? Mm-hmm. No one gets to see that, right? So it's a multitude, containing a multitude of things. Like I feel like it's important to people not take themselves too seriously, but it's fucking toxic.
I think that's why I really love what you do, Daniel. Yeah. And that's why also, as a host of this show, I know, like Lawrence, you quite like Ubud on acid, and for me, we've had this discussion from the beginning. When you came to me with it, I was like, I don't want to engage with these toxic things. But then Ubud on tea is fun, and there's a reference, so I guess I have to speak to it. But I also, for me, it feels really good what you're doing, Daniel. And I also want to share, as I know, Lawrence, you share a bit about Ubud on acid here. And initially, I didn't want to give energy to that, but I feel like we are, as a matter of fact. There is definitely the good parts, as you said, but that harassment, bullying energy. And I want to give an example, like, when you say, oh, maybe it makes people reflect. Well, yes and no, because as you said, taken out of context, you can make fun of everything. It's like, it's okay to make fun, but when I was talking with my friend Shiva, for example, who is, I think, a really beautiful brother,
Definitely is.
People take extracts, and I look some of the comments, are like, oh, what a creep, and it's like really mean. So it's really that bullying kind of almost teenage girl bullying energy, and I mean, let's see, it's not like I'm absolutely close to talking about it in the podcast, but I also want to. I'm happy that you bring this, and I think also
it's an important thing to talk about.
Like understanding that there's this, and it's like, for me, I want to have fun, but there's also, I have some strong values and things I stand against, and so I'm not so comfortable about speaking too highly of Ubud on acid.
I'm going to respond to you, even though I'm not supposed to respond according to my human design. We just had a show with a human design person, so
it's out of alignment.
But I'm going to make it clear, and I'm going to talk to you like a child, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
As a manifesting generator, although I probably shouldn't have said it that way.
Interesting.
She's like,
I'm getting triggered right now. My inner child.
Here, it's like this. I don't love you saying that, like, I like it. I'm speaking to it and not afraid to. That's it. And it's something that's very much in our community, and everybody knows about it. And what I do love about it is that it forces everybody to take responsibility. And I agree with both of you that there is toxic energy around it, but it forces us to take responsibility for the things that we put online, where before we might just get kitty gloved of like, hey, okay, that was okay, or whatever. And now, so yeah, I'll speak to that, and that's it.
Yeah, it's definitely a multitudinal thing, and there's a way to do it. Do the good without the toxicity. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Cool.
And I find myself looking at it, so I have to admit, I look at it because it can be funny. So it's a very interesting topic of discussion that can go very, very deep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I think we're touching about the end. It's been like an hour.
We're moving to. We're like over an hour already.
Little slurp.
Yeah.
I'll make a last cup.
We'll do a slurp with you, and let us know if there's anything
still
else
have
you
some.
want to share.
Yeah, I'd love to just speak to what the future vision is for Conscious the Musical.
Cool.
So really what we're doing is we're creating an edutainment business, and we feel we're potentially pioneering this in terms of helping people transform and delivering messages in a transformational way, but it's also entertaining. It's not taking ourselves too seriously. It's making it fun, because I feel like self-development can be so serious and boring so often, and it builds resistance in people to actually get involved. And so what we're doing is actually building a program after someone watches the musical that they can actually dive into the experience. And I know that after watching a film that I love, like Dune that came out recently, or Game of Thrones, except for the ending, we won't get into that, but when something like that ends, I just want to be in it. I want more. And so what I'm very excited about is to create this experience where people can actually dive in and go through the different scenes and take all the different lessons and apply it to their own life through this kind of group coaching program. And actually be coached by the characters as well. So we'll be coming on the calls as bad Coach Brett, as good Coach Greg, as what to do, what not to do, and taking them through this journey where they get to engage with the characters and be in the musical almost, and sing the songs and do all these things whilst transforming. So we're just at the early stages of creating that. But I think conscious edutainment is going to be a really big market, and we're pioneering. We feel we will be pioneering by doing this, and I haven't seen anyone else doing it, so it's a bit edgy, but let's see how it goes. So yeah, watch out for that one. Yeah.
Awesome. I like that idea. That sounds really good. At the same time, like I feel my critical mind, like, oh man, they're getting into coaching, so like it's gonna be.
See, why are you saying that?
Why am I saying that?
Yeah.
Just the critical mind. It's just like the voice. The voice that's like just looking for something to critique.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. And like.
But I'm curious, why saying you're getting into coaching?
From a perspective of they're making fun of coaching.
Right.
So boomerang, get into coaching. I think it's brilliant, and I hear that voice being like, oh, they're getting into coaching. What an interesting angle to take.
Right. So this is what I tried to make clear in the second edition of the musical, is that we're not bashing coaching, we're bashing narcissism within coaching.
Yeah. You made that clear.
Yeah, right. And then the good coach Greg actually helped transform him, step him into his power. So coaching is a subject, but we're not bashing coaching, and we in the narration we try to make it more clear in the second edition that coaching is actually really transformative, and it's been a massive thing for me over this past year. I couldn't even sing in front of people this time 6 months ago or 7 months ago, and so coaching and different teachers and things have helped me step into that power massively. So yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because perhaps we still need to make some tweaks so people don't think we're just bashing coaching in the musical.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Like the conscious collective in terms of what kind of thoughts are out there and what kind of triggers we get as soon as we see somebody selling anything. Right?
Yeah, right.
And I think that's what you guys speak to a lot in the musical, in the show.
What we're trying to do is actually facilitate transformation in people first and foremost with the coaching program, but also create funds so that we can create more musicals, more entertainment without having to sell out to a production company. Because we would need investment to take these things to the next level. And we have the skills to actually create the capital for ourselves, rather than going to a big company like Amazon or something, and then they come in and say, oh no, we can't have this, we want you to do it more like this, our audience likes this. And it's like, no, fuck that. We want to stay in control and create what we want to create for the good of the messages we want to bring.
Yeah, like it's almost like coaching as artists.
Right.
Like you are artists and you're coaching, and I love the idea.
Yeah.
I do like the idea a lot, and yeah.
Because it's that fine line. We're making fun, but at the same time, when I look at the musical, for example, it's beautiful. The person trying to find their purpose, and even some of the characters that can be a bit grotesque, like a shaman Steve, but also that's part of the psyche of people maybe here in Ubud who are helping facilitate plans and maybe have a bit of an imposter syndrome. But it's beautiful also that some people get into devotion for that, even though they're not from Peru. You know?
Yeah, right.
So it's like in between, where it's like, it's a bit ridiculous and funny, but it's also very beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely wanted it to be meaningful and deep at the same time as being funny, and I was so happy after the first showing that people felt that, you know, and it wasn't just a slapstick comedy. It's like real, some real heart-wrenching moments in there, which I was so happy to see. We were so happy to see that come across. Yeah.
And overall, that's how I feel about people in Ubud. It's like, it's cool to make fun of some things and push that, but overall, that's why we live here, right? I find people so beautiful, and I find people really interesting, open-hearted, and of course, there's the things to make fun of, and we want to, but overall, it's like something that I love to celebrate.
That's the skill. It's like, how can we make light while still honoring the depth of what people are experiencing and their expression, and that is a real fine balance and a real skill that, you know, we're trying to get right in this musical. You know?
The thing that really touched me about what you just shared about the program was about you not being able to sing 6 months ago, because watching the musical, you were comfortable on stage, and even you speaking about how you took on this role that was created moments before, you did that fully, completely. And I think that's your hit. I think that is the niche. It's the ability to take somebody from, I couldn't do this, to, that's projection, you know, like fully, completely. And that's where,
it was kind of like Inception, because, you know, it's Pete, it's my story, it's Pete's story, it's Alex's story, it's so many people's stories. The musical, I mean, the hero goes on, that Johnny goes on. But it's so funny because when he sings at the end, Safe to Be Me, which is one of the final songs, it's safe to be me, safe to who I was born to be. In essence, it was us singing that for the first time on stage, because that was our creation, and putting it out in the world was that process. Johnny's process of going out was our process of doing it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was really our journey was Johnny's journey as it was happening on stage.
Like
and it was a trip. Yeah, it's like meta, Inception, crazy stuff. And that's ultimately what we want to help. We're so passionate about helping other people do, is step into their gifts, their power. And it's fucking edgy, it's fucking scary. And I might look comfortable on stage, but maybe towards the end of the second night, but the first night I was shitting myself. It's anything can go wrong. It's crazy. And I don't know if you've ever done like lines before, but I don't know that I'm going to remember the third line down. I just have to say the first one and hope my brain delivers the third one. And it's such a trust, surrender exercise when it's a live audience, but something that felt so rewarding.
Awesome. Daniel, Winn, and Bad Coach Brett, and so many other characters. I want to thank you. So one of the things that we do here as we close the show out is we do a slurp from our guest. We didn't get a slurp from Bad Coach Brett.
Okay.
But if you'll do like a loud slurp.
Let's wet the lips.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready?
That was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've been practicing my slurp.
Conscious the.musical on Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah.
Yeah. Please follow us on YouTube, Spotify,
iTunes,
iTunes,
Instagram.
Instagram,
Yeah.
all the things, all the things. Thank you so
Like
much.
and subscribe.
What else can they do?
Take a screenshot of that episode if you're listening and you share on Instagram at Ubud on Tea.
Yes.
Anything you want to share?
Thank you. Yeah, I can also go to danielwinn.com for one-on-one coaching with me to step into your power, your expression, or consciousthemusical.com is also a website.
Yeah, or you could just see him at like ecstatic dance and grind with them too.
Open to that, consensual.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Oh, what's that? Oh God. Oh, there we're dancing. Yeah, this is normal.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Peace. Love.